Let me bring Senator Yoder, Carlin Yoder up. He is the author of the right to work legislation in Indiana that was recently passed, and it's an extreme honor for me to be able to introduce him here today. Carlin Yoder.
Very much appreciate that. It's an honor to come up into Michigan and speak with you guys today. I actually live about 10 minutes from the Michigan-Indiana border, so it's actually closer for me to go to the Lansing or to the Michigan State House than it is my own State House in Indianapolis. But,
relocate.
That's an interesting video. I hadn't actually watched that, so it brought back a lot of memories for me as I sat there and watched it. A lot of emotion there. As you can tell, it was a pretty charged atmosphere and a lot of raw feelings on both sides. What you didn't see were the thousands and thousands of union workers who were right outside the chamber, all the way through the State House and out, spilling outside into the front yard of our State House. Thousands of them, and every one of them wanted to take my head off. So it was a surreal feeling when the state police wouldn't let me leave the chamber for 3 hours after that. A fight broke out among two legislators right beside my seat after we voted, and I sat down. I had to actually break up a bit of a fight. So I was doing all kinds of things. It was great. But really a surreal feeling. And then you heard us recess so that the Democrats, we had agreement before this that we would allow the Democrats to go out and do their thing. And so right after we voted, they all went outside on the front lawn with the thousands and thousands of workers and had a rally, and to them the world was ending, and we sat in the chamber and waited for them for about a half hour, which was the agreement. They didn't come back after a half hour, so we started the session again because we do have a supermajority, and so they quickly came back after that. Our right to work story begins years ago, and really began with a guy named Jerry Torr, who's in the House, who was my counterpart, and who's really carried the water for right to work for a number of years. He was really pushing this for the last 8 to 10 years, and nobody really would listen to him, and he didn't really get a movement going. And it wasn't until last year that we really got serious about right to work, and I'm in my 4th year, first term in Indiana, and so I'm kind of new to the ballgame. We don't have term limits in Indiana. And so there's some people that have been there for quite some time. Last year, we decided it was time. We now had a supermajority in the Senate. We had a majority 60-40 in the House. We had a strong governor who we thought was going to help us last year. And so we decided it was time. At the same time, we were tackling education reform, working on vouchers, which I was very closely involved in because I'm an educator. Expanding school choice, charters, teacher evaluations, and so on. It was quite a battle. And our governor, in his wisdom, said, this is not the year to do right to work. And I didn't agree with him at the time. I tend to be a hard charger, and I said, let's get it all done this year. And he convinced our pro tem and the House and the Speaker to hold off for a year. And that really upset the national right to work people and some other people, and so it got really contentious. But the governor was right. It was not the right time. We got our education reform through. We got a number of other pieces through that were really groundbreaking. And we came back this year. The governor had promised us that he would possibly help us out this year. We came back this year, and the governor stood up and said, I support right to work. That was the first time he really did it, and it was huge for us. We had the Speaker of the House who came out and said he supports right to work. My pro tem came out and said he supported right to work. So we had the trifecta, and it was time to go after it. I will point out also last year, one of the reasons we didn't push right to work was that we had a 5-week walkout in the House by the Democrats, which shut down all of the process in our State House. We couldn't do any work, or they couldn't in the House, which shut us down in the Senate as well. And so for 5 weeks, we sat around and really did nothing. That was not a popular move for the Democrats, as we found out. Many of them got really nervous that they were going to lose their seat over it. I think some are going to lose their seat over it. So this year, when we brought back right to work, they again tried to walk out in the House to shut down the process. After about a week of that, the pressure from the public got so strong that they started crumbling. And they ended up coming back, enough of them came back to form a quorum, which meant they all had to come back because they really looked bad. And the process began. It was a contentious process, to say the least. And we're not Michigan. We have between 11 and 12% union workers in Indiana. And the public sector unions are already right to work in Indiana, or were at the time. So we only had to deal with the private sector unions, and that's roughly 7% of Indiana Hoosiers. So, by the sound of things, outside the State House and in the State House, you would have thought the unions represented the vast majority of Hoosiers. In fact, they represented about 7%. It got to the point where we would watch the buses come in every day, because they were there every day, thousands of them, and we'd see Illinois plates on the buses, we'd see Ohio plates on the buses, Michigan plates on the buses, not that many Indiana plates. And we started pointing that out. We also found on Craigslist ads offering minimum wage for people who were willing to come protest. You didn't have to be a union worker, you just had to carry a sign. And so we had that happening. We had individuals like Danny Glover from Lethal Weapon Hall of Fame show up to tell us how horrible we were and how hateful we were toward unions. And it became a really big circus. And it was a battle. I had plenty of union workers show up at my front doorstep. They would walk around my yard with signs and protest. I had a number of death threats emailed to me. I had calls on my phone from restricted numbers that the state police couldn't track down without subpoenas and all kinds of things. I was telling some guys here, I was sitting in a restaurant right before this vote, a day or so before the vote, with some friends in Indy, and I get a call on my cell phone, and I answer a restricted number, and the very calm male voice on the other end said, I know right where you're at, and I know who you're sitting with, and I'm going to get you. And that's a disconcerting feeling when you're sitting in a corner of a restaurant with windows looking out on in Indy. And I was a little even more disconcerted when my friends who were sitting with me said, get out. We're not going down with you, so just leave. And I thought they were kidding, but they weren't, so I left. And that's a kind of a tense walk back to your car when you know somebody's out there, but nothing happened. And in the end, I think some of those tactics that the unions used, well, I know that the tactics that the unions used hurt them immensely. The amount of outpouring of calls and support I got at home because of these guys parading around my front yard was incredible. Newspapers were out there, TV cameras were out there, the state police were there for long periods of time at my house. It was a circus, and people didn't like it. I got a lot of calls from even Democrats saying, we don't support you on this, but this is embarrassing. And the unions don't understand that. They know one thing, and that's to try to intimidate you from doing the right thing. And so while I shouldn't be here trying to support Michigan, because it's going to hurt Indiana, it's hard for me not to, because I'm excited to see a state like Michigan tackle this issue. If Michigan can get this done, anybody can get this done.
Amen.
And I firmly believe that Michigan can get this done. I was not aware of the supermajority in the Senate and the majority in the House as well. You've got a strong Republican governor now. My opinion is it's probably about time, because that's what it took for us to get it done. You guys can do the same thing. Support your legislators that are here. They're going to need the support, no doubt about it. As I said on the video, a lot of times the majority is not the loudest. And we found that out in Indiana. The loudest was by far the minority. And we went from right after this being done to being told we're going to lose, all of us were going to lose our jobs, they were going to take us out, to turning it around on them. And there's a lot of these guys who fought right to work that are now under pressure to defend that vote. And the unions are being forced to funnel some of their money to supporting their own candidates instead of going after some of us. Legislators can be a tricky lot of people to deal with at times, especially when their jobs are being threatened. And so you need to let them know you're there to support them. And you need to rally the troops behind them, because they're going to need that encouragement, especially in Michigan, I have a feeling. I also believe probably that what we experience in Indiana is nothing like what you guys have experienced in Michigan. Just a guess. But it's doable. It's doable. And I can tell you the reward for getting this thing passed in Michigan will be shocking to you. I was talking to the governor a couple weeks ago, just very recently, and he said, I've been stunned by the reaction of the business community across the country and even internationally because we passed right to work. He was not prepared for it to be that big a deal. Right after this happened, Caterpillar, as you may have heard, announced they were coming into Muncie from Canada, where they were being locked out. Workers and management were fighting. They weren't getting anything done. They're moving to Muncie, Indiana now. Just this week, we had an announcement in my community where a business is relocating there, bringing 150 jobs because of right to work, and they were very clear about that. And there's 30-odd businesses that are in works with Indiana, at least in big discussion with Indiana right now, as to relocating to Indiana because of right to work. And according to the governor and to our IEDC, our economic community, the calls keep coming. And that's exciting. When I ran for office for the first time in 2008, Indiana, as every other state had, we had big unemployment issues. My county, Elkhart County, which butts up against Michigan, had the worst unemployment rate in the state. We were around 19% unemployment. And with the RV industry as strong as it is in our community, we were really hit hard. And I ran on the platform that I would do anything and everything to create jobs in Indiana. And that's why I got involved in right to work. I strongly believe in the freedom for workers. I think that is an absolute must. But my main thrust was this will create jobs. It doesn't even matter if businesses benefit from it or not, as long as they think they're going to benefit from it, and they're willing to come to Indiana because of it. Why not do it? And that's why we did it. We have 37 Republicans in the Senate out of 50, and we got 28 votes out of it. That means 9 Republicans would not come on board with this. We obviously got no Democrat support, either in the Senate or in the House. My guess is in Michigan, it'll be a very partisan vote as well. And that's okay, because as I was telling some of these guys, when you have the truth on your side, the truth wins out in the end. And I think usually it might take a little while, a couple of years to prove it, but I think in Indiana we're already proving it. And the law actually just went into effect on March 14th. So good times are ahead for Indiana. I can assure you that. I'm happy to say that. And I hope good times are ahead for Michigan as well, because you need this law. I hope you give us a few years to reap the benefits before you get there. But, you know, if you get it done this year, more power to you. I'll be happy to answer any questions later on. I think you're in a panel here, and anybody's here, I'd be happy to answer questions, talk about the process a little more. It's a fantastic journey. Glad it's over. I'm already looking for the next issue to go after, so I'm excited about that. But thanks for having me. Love coming to Michigan. Thank you.